to have the session about today. And you just happen to see the video of some of the sessions that this forum has already had in the past, and you would have got an idea of what's happening here. Just to give you a brief information about what this forum is all about and what we've been doing. Um, Disciples India Learning Forum is a part of Disciples India Group, an organization that has envisioned to provide educational and training services in the area of vocational education and training, entrepreneurship education, management consulting, and research. Uh, DIG, commonly called, was founded in 2014 by a team of academic and industry professionals to realize the vision of the group through their meticulous planning and dedicated efforts. The team members have expertise in their relevant areas to understand, guide, and direct its clients towards fulfilling their objectives and realize their future dreams. And as a part of that forum is this learning forum, Disciples India Learning Forum, which is happy to present a platform purely for the joy of learning. Now, it is envisaged to be an exciting learning platform where like-minded can come together, share experiences, learn and grow as individuals, professionals, as well as organizations. Now, Disciples India Learning Forum was launched in the year 2018, January, with the objective to provide a platform to share and exchange ideas and experiences, to create and develop personal and professional network of learners, to enhance effective communication and leadership skills, to foster learning and contribute for personal, professional, and organizational development, to update with the life management skills, and contribute as an effective member to the society. In that process, we've had a good journey of about 77 sessions, and today we are here in our 78th session, which is Entrepreneurs and Innovations, Challenges Ahead. And to talk about that, today we have someone very, very special, Dr. Joy Mukhopadhyaya, an educational and management consultant, academic supervisor of Warwick University, United Kingdom, an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur, who has his PhD from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and also he is the Chief Executive Officer of ThinkCorp Consultancy Services, which is into management consulting, with an overall experience of 45 years in research, corporate, and academics. Dr. Mukhopadhyaya has authored more than 90 research papers and chapters in 4 books published by Springer. He is on the editorial board of a few journals, travels widely in India and abroad delivering lectures and conducting faculty development programs, workshops, and also chairing sessions at conferences and seminars. With that in the background, I welcome Dr. Joy Mukhopadhyaya for today's session, and I would be sharing the screen for him. But before, Dr. Joy, if you could just say hello to our viewers.
Thank you for the nice introduction. Yes, hello everyone. This audience is probably a mixture of students, faculty members, academicians, entrepreneurs, and whoever is interested. And they can see a few of my friends in the list. I just saw list of the participants and I saw a few of my friends, including some very old friends. So thank you so much. This Disciples India was started by Dr. Suresh, and Dr. Suresh is an old friend of mine. We first met years back when he was dean at AMC College, and I was a visiting professor there many years. And since then, we maintained the contact. He changed jobs, I changed jobs, but we always maintained the contact. So it is nice to be a speaker in this forum. And the person who requested me to speak is Mr. Shiv Prasad. That was also a coincidence because though we never met, we had already virtually met because he was in the audience in another lecture of mine sometimes last month. So I have requested the organizers to put up the slides. It's basically because I may be having some technical difficulty on my laptop. So with your permission, I will, yeah.
Yes, we are ready, sir. If you're okay, we can go ahead and I can project the slides for you.
Show only the slide and the left. Click on the slide only, and then keep clicking. So the left portion will not come. The list of slides need not come. Click only on the slide. Yeah, right. And as I start speaking and as I keep saying next slide, we go to the next slide. Okay. So I do teach, or I did teach a paper only on entrepreneurship. I taught a paper on digital entrepreneurship, and I also taught a paper. Each one was a separate paper, and I also taught a paper. Title of the paper was Product Innovation and Development, and that paper was, the syllabus was designed by me. So I had taught all these papers. So this lecture is a combination of my different thoughts from these topics. So what I'll do is I'll talk about entrepreneurship in general for some time. Then I'll talk about innovation, and I would like to give a few examples which are not in this, purely from my own experience. So I hope you'll enjoy it. So let's start with entrepreneurship and what is entrepreneurship, because every day we talk about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship, and I myself, I'm an entrepreneur myself. So what is entrepreneurship? And the next slide gives you the definition. The next slide gives you the definition. Yes, that is the bookish definition. Is the process of designing, launching, and running a new business, which is often initially a small business. Often initially a small business, because even if you see any of the big companies, huge multinational, they all had an humble start. So they started as a small business and became very big. I'll give some examples. And the other other definition is again given the next one. And the next slide, you can read that definition. That is a very bookish definition. And an entrepreneur should have certain abilities. Everybody cannot be an entrepreneur. No. The screen, please. Go back to the screen.
Yes, sir. Just sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah.
Just bringing it back.
Yeah, we are on the third slide. Yeah. Stop here. Yeah. So, who is an entrepreneur, and who would like to be an entrepreneur? Many people would like to be an entrepreneur. Given a choice, many. But the thing is, everyone cannot become. Of course, there are theories and there is school of thought that everyone can become. But I do feel that just like anything else, just like any other profession or search, an entrepreneur must have some abilities and has to have an ability to find and act upon the opportunities to translate inventions or technology into commercially viable new products or services. So an entrepreneur is someone who has the ability to find this. He has to literally search for it and find out the opportunities and act upon opportunities to translate an existing invention or technology, maybe even discovery, and make a commercial venture out. So make a commercially viable new products and or services. So I've used the word invention, and I'll elaborate on that a little later. So the next slide, I've given the critical cycle. The critical cycle is very important for everyone to understand what am I talking about. So just concentrate on the critical cycle, and this cycle is, it is divided into four. The circle is divided into four quadrants, and I'll start with the right uppermost. That is analyze critically. What do you analyze? You analyze the present situation. You analyze the present opportunities. You analyze something which may have been discovered or invented or innovated by somebody else. So analyze very critically. The word critically is easier said than done. Critically means think about it very, very deeply and analyze in your mind what's good, what's bad, what could be better, and all that. And that analysis is based on idea. I skip that idea part because that idea cannot be bookish and I cannot tell you this is the idea, but we'll come back to that later. So assuming you got an idea can be your own, idea can be else, or an idea from somebody and elaborate on that. and then you analyze. That's why I skip the idea before. Once you analyze, what is it that you get converted from idea to a realistic three-dimensional product and or service? So if you could analyze critically your idea, that means you have already got the grasp of the idea, you have already understood from the idea what could come out as a result, and then you are in a position to bring it out. So execute or act. What is it that you act? You have already analyzed an idea and you have thought of having a product out of something. So act means actually make the product, actually make the product, and put it in the market. And of course, get results means at the end, of course, you put it in the market, you sell it, you make some money, you learn a lot of lessons and experience during this journey, and put it back in the original idea and see how the idea could be further modified or how you make it one more idea to start on. So I'll repeat, you can have your own idea, which is not always easy, but yes, it's definitely possible, but there is no formula for it. I can't tell you a formula by which you can get it. So you have to keep your eyes and ears open. You will get ideas. You will get ideas. You will get ideas as while walking on the road, looking on the both sides. You will get some ideas. Now think, that is analyze. Out of this idea, is it possible to convert something or make something into a real life product and a real life service? So that's analysis. And then actually, that is act. And hopefully, once you're successful, you make some money, and in the process, you can go back between act and get results, act and get results. In the sense, as you get more and more experience, you realize how to make it better, how to act better, that is, execute it better. And then go back to the original idea and see what you started with. Did you get the results according to what idea you originally had, or can it be further modified and substantiated, or can you add something? We'll go to the next slide. So what are the qualities of an entrepreneur? He must have passion, that I will do it. I will make this idea work. That's passion. Unless you have passion in something, you don't excel. And perseverance means you keep on doing it. And of course, that is related to patience. You have to have patience to get good results. You can't expect results overnight. So you have to have patience. But I put critical thinking in red. That means the most important part is critical thinking. People who do not have the capacity of critical thinking, or they have the capacity for some reason, they did not indulge in critical thinking. So even if they have passion or perseverance and patience, they may not succeed at the end. So critical thinking typically involves asking a lot of questions, like what, why, where, when, and of course how. So the critical thinking is extremely important. So I put it in red because it's extremely important. Go to the next slide. So assuming there is an entrepreneur, and as I said, an entrepreneur is someone who can find out and act upon opportunities. So an entrepreneur has to look for and see what are the opportunities available in his immediate environment. That could be real life environment, that could be business environment, that could be social environment. Somebody's microphone is on. Yeah. So find out what are the opportunities in the environment. Again, I cannot tell you a magic formula by which. And according to entrepreneur's personal abilities or his resources. Resources means he may not be having certain abilities, but he has the resources. He knows another person well who has those abilities, and he can convince that person to join him or help him. So that's why I said resources. So entrepreneur himself may be having certain abilities, and or he has the resources to get those abilities, and put together, it is the entrepreneur's opportunity. So this entrepreneur first finds out opportunity in the environment, then checks what are the abilities he has and how to match those. Either he has his own or he has the resources to get the abilities, and combining together, that is the entrepreneur's opportunities. So the next slide. I have tried to put it in a model which I call Cornerstones of Entrepreneurship. And we have got overlapping circles, and each one has got some abbreviation which I'll explain. And at the center is the success, that is overlapping of all this. So I started with ETM, efficient and transparent management. Management of what? People, process, technology, money, materials, and markets, and all that. Then the ACT part is world-class execution, operation cost, etc. GOD is how good is the design, the goodness of design. And of course, it all started with UTCR, that is understanding of target customers' requirement. If you compare this with the other diagram, earlier diagram, as I said, get some idea. What is that idea all about? The idea is to find out what your future customers' requirements are. Target customers, who's your target? Target is according to certain criteria. That criteria could be financial, that is somebody who has money above this level or between these levels. Criteria could be in terms of age, gender, other demographic parameters. So find out what is the customer's requirements. And then the idea and corresponding to customer's requirements gives you how to make a new product and or service. And to do that, you have to have very, very efficient management. You need other people to help you or work for you. You need certain processes. You need technology, of course. And I don't have to tell you need money, and hence you need materials and markets. So all this is termed together as efficient and transparent management. Why transparent? That means other people who are part of the organization or who are helping you or with you, your peer group or even people who are working under you, they're very clear about the whole process. They're very clear about what is the idea, who's the customer, what is it that we are doing. That's why the transparency is up. Okay. So I'll repeat. First, understand our target customers' requirements. I'll give you some very simple examples. How many of you have seen a calcium tablet manufactured by calcium Sandoz? Sandoz. Most of you, right? Okay. Now, the doctors or whoever advise mothers to give milk to the children so that their calcium requirements is fulfilled. Now, typically, children don't want to drink milk. Then Sandoz is saying, okay, the children are not getting enough calcium from milk, so give them the calcium tablet. That is an extra one as a supplement. Now, how to attract? So your target customer is a child. What is the idea? You make him eat or take the tablet. How do you do that? Child may not be attracted towards taking a tablet because he may think it's a medicine and may revolt against it. So I'm sure many of you remember the container of calcium Sandoz tablet. I don't know how many of you remember. There's a dog. Do you remember that? The plastic bottle looks like a small dog. And open the cap and then inside the tablet. So the child is attracted basically towards that container, which looks like a dog. So he enjoys that. And in the process, he takes the tablet. So compare that with selling the calcium tablet in usual glass bottle or plastic bottle, typical usual cylindrical design. The child will not be interested so much. Same way, calcium Sandoz has got another design of a bottle targeting ladies, young ladies, for taking custom. And that has got its own design. So there's very simple example. A simple thing like calcium. I as an adult may think that yes, I need calcium and hence pop up a tablet. A child may not do that, A child would love to have that dog, that plastic dog-like bottle as a collection. Hence, he insists his parents to buy that, and he loves that. So whatever is inside, he doesn't mind taking. So that's a very, very simple example. And once you keep your eyes and ears open, you will find many, many such ideas, and hence you will also know who are your target customers. Okay. So I'll keep giving some more examples in the same line. Go to the next one. Correct. Go to the next one. Yes. So once we understand, we have to do something as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, I have understood a target customer, my target customer, as I already defined. A target can be according to certain demographic parameters. And hence, I define target customers' requirements, needs, and then I go about converting it to my problem as an entrepreneur and see how I can do all this. So look at the diagram carefully. The problems can be more or one or more, singular or multiple. And what are the problems I have as an entrepreneur? Problems I have are in terms of marketing, ICT, that is information and communication technology, HR and OB, that is human resources and organizational behavior, strategy, money, of course, finance, operation, how do you go about doing the whole thing, and project management. And once I have these problems, I have to find a way of solving them. And I should also find out how much I'm succeeding. That is, I should have metrics for measuring the performance of my organization or my entrepreneurship venture. How much is my market share? How much money actually I'm making? That is the profitability. And what is the operational efficiency? Is there any way I can improve the efficiency? So all these are typical management terminology, and students of BBM or MBA study all this. So I'm not going into all this in detail, but I'm sure all of you understand. That is, I as an entrepreneur have a problem, and I have thought of a solution, and hence I am trying to make something out of it. I am trying to make a product and or service out of it, and trying to sell it to the market to make profit. So what are the problems I face? I face these problems, what I just mentioned. I have to have a project. I should know how to manage the project. To run the project, I should know operation management. To start with, I must have some money. And do I have a strategy to proceed? And do I have marketing skill, a marketing team? And how do I handle my people, as HR and OP? And how do I communicate with my customers or other stakeholders, that is ICT, all this. So with all this, I put up some product and or service in the market, and I hope to clinch a market share, which may be very small, minuscule to start with, but it will grow. It will grow provided my operation is profitable. So the amount of money I earn, I put it back. And I should see that my operational excellence efficiency is good enough. Otherwise, I have to make it better, which will increase the profitability. And I should be able to measure how good I am. I should be able to measure and act accordingly. Act accordingly means proceed accordingly. So the next slide is a standard model. Review, revisit, find the gap, fill the gap. So same way, I can start from any of these, but I am starting from the YOLO, that is plan, which I already told you. That is, I have an idea, or I picked up an idea from some source, or somebody else gave me an idea. Then I thought of taking this idea, I can make a product and or service. So that is a thought of something. So develop an action plan. Then I actually implement, I actually do it. So I implement, provide opportunities to achieve these goals. Then after implementing, that is actually after I actually make a product and a service and put it to the market, I check, I assess how much is the achievement against what I originally thought. What was my original goal? And then use the results. Use the results means use the money, of course, and use the experience, that more important. Use the experience to find out what I can do.
ఫోన్ చేస్తాడా
Hello? How do I modify my plan further if necessary? How do I make plan better? And hence, how do I implement it better? Then did I assess correctly or can my assessment be better? So it's a cycle which goes, keep going. That's why the title is review. Review the result. Revisit. Revisit the plan. Find the gap. Find the gap between what I thought, what I planned, and what I'm actually doing. And fill the gap. That is the assessment. Fill the gap. So go on this cycle and the success will be yours. Now, before I go to before I talk about innovation part, so about entrepreneurship part, leave the slide there, but I'll just try to sum up. So who can be an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is a person who is ready to take a risk. An entrepreneur is a person who's ready to learn. An entrepreneur is a person who gets ideas. An entrepreneur is a person who can convert that idea to a product and a service. Actually do it and check how is he doing. Instead of being very complacent, check how is he doing. And then use that experience to make it better. Now, as I am repeating, so for that, one need, of course, perseverance, patience. But I repeat that one is critical thinking. Why critical thinking? Unless you think critically, you would not get a new idea. Unless you think critically, you would not be able to convert the idea to a plan. Unless you think critically, you would not be converted to plan to actual implementation. And again, unless you think critically, you would not be able to assess where are you going wrong, if at all. So critical thinking, absolutely important. And I'll give some examples where this importance of critical thinking will come out easily. Okay. Now, my other part of the lecture is about innovation. So it's easier said than done, but let's see how we go about it. So next slide gives the three usual words: discovery, invention, and innovation. And every child, every school-going child should be knowing all the meanings of this, but still I'm repeating. Discovery is something which was already existing, but we did not know about it. So you find out. Invention is something which was not existing and we make it. And then what is innovation? Innovation is something which is already existing and you make a small change, incremental change. Change is typically for improvement or variation or diversity of something which is already existing. If you take these three words, today, where are we? Are we in the age of discovery? Many people think that whatever is to be discovered is already discovered. There's nothing more to discover. Which is totally wrong. That thought process comes because number of discoveries may be, in terms of number, may be becoming less and less, but there is no end to discovery. When you read newspapers and you watch TV, and you know there is a special channel called Discovery Channel. So every day, something or somewhere is getting discovered. Scientists are discovering new species of life and plant, say below Arctic region. Scientists are discovering existence of new solar system, a new sun, hence a new planet, and whatnot. Scientists are discovering so many other small things which were not known. It was existing, we did not know. And what is invention? Many people say the golden era of invention was when scientists invented something like electrical gadgets, which are, of course, based on discovery. What was the discovery? Discovery was electricity. So scientists and engineers invented something, say, steam engine. What was the discovery? The discovery was steam can exert pressure. Everybody knows the story of James Watt, right? James Watt, a small schoolboy, he saw the kettle and steam, and it is forcing the lid to come out. So that was the discovery, and the invention was a steam engine. So inventions are based on discovery. Of course, there are examples, many examples actually, where something was discovered by chance, same way something was invented by chance. Anyway, we are not talking about those in particular. But yes, there are examples of invention by chance. And what is innovation? Then innovation is something which is already there and we make it better, faster, more diversified, or we make it some one particular thing which is already existing and it's being used for something. Innovation is, can you use that for something else? All that's innovation. So today, when in the age of innovation, because invention is not easy, obviously, to understand, but innovation is comparatively easier than invention. So more and more things are getting innovated every other. So on the next slide, it's a favorite slide of mine. That is, there is an organization which declares every year which are the most innovative companies. So this favorite slide of mine is is global most innovative companies during 2017. In the meantime, 2018, 2019 have already come out list of companies, innovative companies. Okay, 2020 onwards, we are having a lot of disruptions, as you know, because of pandemic, so situation is totally different. But 2018, 2019 lists also have come out, most innovative companies. Why this list of 2017 is close to my heart? If you see the list carefully, there are two Indian companies. That is, number 8 is Asian Paint, which is a 100% Indian company. In fact, is an Indian multinational. And then you have number 7 position, Hindustan Unilever, which is the Indian operation of a multinational company called Unilever. Why this slide is favorite of mine? Because during my professional years, I worked for these two companies. My first job was Hindustan Unilever, Mumbai. Those days it was called Hindustan Lever, and I was working as a scientist in the Hindustan Lever Research Center, the place called Andheri in Mumbai. We used to call Bombay. And then my second job was Asian Paints. That is a place called Mahandu, again in Mumbai. So this slide, it was a very, very pleasant surprise for me when I stumbled upon this list, most innovative companies 2017. Imagine my emotional connection and emotional delight when I saw company number 7 and company number 8 as the companies where I worked for. And then I realized I did work some very innovative concepts. I did work on some very innovative technology. I did work on some very innovative products and services. So about Hindustan Unilever, during my time it was called Hindustan Lever. Uni word was prefix came later. So I'll just tell you in short one project I was involved in very much, and later the project was commercialized and Hindustan Lever has been using it. That is to tell you very in brief. My project at Hindustan Lever was to use rice bran oil for making soap. Hindustan Lever started as a soap and detergent. Now, of course, it's diversified into so many things. It's a big FMCG company, but basically, it was Hindustan Lever was a soap and detergent company, and is famous for its soap like Lifebuoy and Surf and soaps. Okay, so those days, I'm talking about 1980. Rice bran oil was not used as an edible oil. Rice bran oil, in fact, rice bran oil was something new. That is extracting oil out of rice bran, selling it as rice bran oil. Rice bran oil was something new, and it was not considered or it was not used as an edible oil. Soap was still made from palm oil, coconut oil, and other oil. Now, Government of India made a rule that should reduce the consumption of edible oil to convert them to soap for obvious reasons, right? So Hindustan Lever was looking for non-edible oils which can be used for soap manufacturing. So my work was how to use rice bran oil, which was not edible oil at that point of time. It was way back in 1980, to make soap out of it. The practical difficulty we found was, so the idea was take a non-edible oil. So we chose rice bran oil. And difficulty or problem we found was rice bran oil as it was after extraction from ice run, was very dark in color and very thick. That is, viscosity was very high. So we had to find a process. That is, idea was to find a process so that a dark color and thick rice bran oil can be converted to a more flowing, that is less viscous and colorless oil. And in terms of money, in terms of finance, the idea was to find some process by which this whole thing can be done. That is, a dark colored, thick oil can be converted to almost colorless, smooth flowing oil by spending minimum amount of money. And I'll just tell you what I did, and subsequently it went into production. Industry never adopted that procedure in a big way. I did it in a small scale. That is, we took clay, okay, CLAY, clay, and I treated the clay. I'm not giving you the details. I treated the clay in such a way that the structure, the molecular structure of clay was converted in such a way that is, the structure was made porous and there are gaps at atomic level inside the structure. And when you pass oil through clay, the pigment inside the oil, the pigment molecules get trapped inside the clay. So I took a big tube and I had already processed the clay. I filled up the tube with the clay. Then I would pour dark colored oil from the top and I'll collect colorless oil at the bottom. That's it. It was a fantastic concept. So then that colorless, smooth flowing oil with low viscosity could further be used for making soap. So that was a very, very innovative process. And the product was that modified clay, and the process was decolorizing and making it less viscous. So that's what I did in Hindustan. The next one, my job was with Asian Paints, and again I did something which is extremely innovative. So the next slide is just showing you the picture of Asian Paints headquarters in Bombay. Next slide, and the next slide will show you something which many of you might have seen in your school days. This is called Newton's colored disk. If you remember from your school days, Newton was the first scientist who said that sunlight is made of actually 7 lights. White light is made of 7 lights. What we call Vibrio. Violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange. What is the practical demonstration of that? This is a fascinating thing for school kids. There is a circular metallic plate on which you have color strips. Vibgio, violet, indigo, blue. So the color strips are made on that, as you can see. And at the back, there is a handle. When you rotate the handle, the color strip rotates. And as you rotate it faster and faster. Then you cannot see the colors separately. Then you see the whole screen as a white screen, the whole disk as a white disk. So what was Newton's idea or Newton's discovery? It was a discovery, right? The discovery was that white light is made of 7 lights. Then the invention is this small gadget, which is almost like a toy for school kids. Now, based on this, I'm not going through the detailed technology, but the next slide will show you a machine which you might have seen in many paint shops. It's common in many paint shops. It was started by Asian Paints and subsequently it has been adopted by other paint companies. What is it? It's a fantastic innovation. The invention part was a very complicated mathematics and complicated software, which I did. And based on this software, this machine was created. What's this machine for? This machine is for this. That is for making paint of any color of your choice. How do you do that? You might have seen every paint company has what is called a shade card. On the shade card, you have different small circle of colors. So that means that indicates the company is selling paints of these colors. Asian Paints totally revolutionized that idea. It said, we can make paint of any color for you. You don't need a shade card. You tell us what color you want and we'll make it for you. How is it done? To put it in a very layman's language, if you want a particular color, you should have a sample. The sample could be a piece of cloth, a piece of paper, piece of cardboard, whatever material piece on which that color is existing. So it could be a piece of your sari and you want a blouse exactly of the same color, or you want something else and you want that color. So it could be a piece of leather, plastic, ceramic, anything. So that acts as a sample. So they take that sample piece to the shop, Asian Paint shop, and this machine, you can see that machine has got very complicated. I'm not going into details of that. That machine can measure in a way. How do you measure? That's a separate subject by itself. And machine can measure the color of the surface which you are carrying. As I said, it can be just a piece of cloth or whatever, ceramic or whatever. The machine can measure that color and instruct this machine to make the paint. How is it done? It is inside the machine. There are three colors basically. Highly concentrated, three colors: red, blue, and green. Four colors, sorry, red, blue, green, and yellow. Okay. And now go back to the previous slide. Go back to the previous slide. Inside the machine, there are four tubes containing very concentrated colors of red, blue, green, and yellow. There is four pigments, concentrated pigments. And you take a can of white paint and keep it at the bottom. And it's a dispensing system. And through the dispenser, drops of combination of red, blue, green, yellow will drop on that can and it will get mixed till it gives you exactly the same color you wanted. So it's easier said than done because inside very complicated hardware and software. Now the next slide shows a further innovation. That is the same thing. The can is in a slightly tilted position and looks like a washing machine. It rotates. That is while those red, blue, green, yellow color drops are entering the can, which is white paint, it keeps rotating for thorough mixing. And ultimately, you have a can of paint of the shade which you wanted to start. That's a fantastic innovation. So I worked on this basically based on my software. This was done. Of course, that was long back, and I left. And subsequently, this machine was made. I am not responsible for designing or making the machine, but yes, I was responsible for doing the theoretical work. How much of each color should be added to convert that white painting. Okay, the next slide.
Sulle Society matra.
So I talked about these two companies where I work for, Hindustan Unilever and Asian Paints. I told you what I did, and I feel very happy to think back that I did something very, very. Now there are some other examples. You would have heard of a company called Polaroid Corporation. It was Polaroid company was founded long back in 1937, and the company's original product was a pair of sunglasses, and it was a fantastic product, and it took the market of sunglass. Why so? Because this special sunglass, next slide, looks like any other sunglass, but this property of the sunglass was it could eliminate or reject the directly incident light from the sunlight. So what is the effect? Is while wearing this sunglass, you don't feel the glare. Whereas every other sunglass, though it looks dark, you'll still feel the glare. So anyway, that was the first product Polaroid came to be a prominent company, but actually Polaroid became subsequently very famous for the next slide for making what is called instant film camera. I'm not sure how many of you have seen it. You might not have seen it all. The younger generation definitely have. Instant film camera was something, a camera which could take a photograph and instant, give you the printout immediate. Next slide will show you the model, what it looks like, and of course there are different models. So what's so great about it? It's a fantastic innovation. What's so great about it? What's so great about is this. Those of you still take photography, still the regular camera. Of course, that is going. It's a dying art now. After you take the photograph in that film, that entire film has to be given to a studio, right? For developing and printing. Now here, this camera is designed in such a way, it clicks a photograph and gives the print instantaneously. That's why it's instant film camera. Instantaneously means it takes a few seconds, at the most 1 minute, 2 minutes. Okay. So what's so great about it in terms of innovation? What's so great about it is this: a camera is all physics. It's all about optics, how much of light is falling on what and all. You were studying in your school days. The camera is basically all a physics product. And developing the film and printing is a chemistry product, because the film has to be dipped into some chemical solution, washed with some chemical solution, till the film, the negative becomes positive, and you see the photograph. The film is converted to photograph. That's a chemical process. So this camera is such an innovative product that within a box, the box, how big is the box? You can hold in your hand, it's a camera, right? Within this box, you have the combination of physics and chemistry both. That means the camera, of course, is understandable. It is taking the photograph, but then the chemical process which is being done in a studio is being done inside this small box, and the photograph comes out. So what's the greatest difficult part? That is, in a studio, as I said, the film is dipped in different solution, washed in different solution. You can't do that all that inside a box like this, right? Handled box. So the solutions are replaced with gels. So as the film comes out, it is in touch with gel and it gets developed and comes out as a photograph, color photograph. So when this Polaroid put it in the market, you can imagine what a revolutionary product it was, and all the big camera companies in the world closed down. But the next slide will show that after a few years, digital photography was invented in 1980. So digital photography, you don't need a film, you don't need a studio to develop and print your photographs. Everything is gone. So once digital photography came into vogue, that Polaroid Corporation company went bankrupt. Polaroid had earlier made other camera companies bankrupt. Now Polaroid went bankrupt. Digital photography came. And of course, many of these digital photographs are also gone now because of the next slide, which you and I are using all the time. Next slide, a mobile camera, obviously. Now today, everyone is a photographer. Everyone has a mobile and everyone can take photograph whenever they want. During my childhood days, I could take a photograph only if I had a camera, and different cameras have different capabilities, a good camera, an excellent camera, not so good camera. Besides that, a person who's taking the photograph, the cameraman or the photographer, had to be, it's just like being an entrepreneur, that is, had to have some special abilities. Everybody could not take a good photograph, and every camera could not take a good photograph. Today, all this has gone now. In fact, it's come to this situation that a mobile phone, which is innovated to become a mobile camera as well, that is, the camera part has been added to a regular phone. A mobile phone company advertises showing high-class photograph. We have seen advertisements of Apple, huge advertisements, huge banner on the road, a beautiful photograph, and at the bottom it is written, click with iPhone, number 8 or number 9 or number 10, whatever, I'm losing the count. So a phone, which is basically for communication, is now being used as a camera. That's the innovation part. And the companies are using this for advertisement. You would know about companies, you must be knowing the names. I don't have to tell you. Vivo, you must be knowing. Have you seen Vivo's advertisement saying that it has got a very good phone? It says it's a very good camera. So though it's basically a phone, but the innovation is phone has been made into high-class camera. Now my next slide is again, this is the next slide. This is not a physics lecture. I'm not talking about all this. So those of you who haven't studied science or physics, don't bother. This is just a diagrammatic representation of what is called electromagnetic radiation. This was discovered. Electromagnetic radiation has already been existing, discovered. It was discovered many, many years ago. But then, using this electromagnetic radiation, somebody invented a fantastic thing. What is that? The next slide. The next slide. Okay. So this is a gentleman, Mr. Percy Spencer. He invented a microwave oven in 1945. There's a very interesting story. Spencer Percy was working for a company during the Second World War, 1945, right? Second World War. He was working for a company, and that company was making systems of uh, equipments which are used for the war. So he was an engineer and he was working for something. And then one day he came home and found that he had chocolates inside his coat pocket and all the chocolates had melted. So he was very surprised. The chocolates had melted and stuck to his coat. Next day, same thing happened. Then he started thinking critically, and then he realized whenever he was coming close to his machine he was working on, the chocolates were melting. Then he analyzed, thought critically, analyzed, and realized inside that machine there must be something which is making the chocolate melt. So inside the machine there was a microwave generator, and then slowly came to the conclusion he realized that microwave was melting the chocolate. So he discovered that microwave can produce enough heat to melt chocolate in particular. He was not feeling the heat otherwise. Then he went back to his management and said, this is what I discovered today. And can you utilize this? Can you make something out of it? The top management was not interested because they were making machines which was used for war. And they said, primarily we are into this business. Soon enough, he was very disgruntled. And then he made a microwave oven himself. He assembled one, a huge one, using a microwave generator, and it was used for generating heat because he discovered that microwave can generate heat. That was way back in 1945. But then, much later, somebody thought, why not convert it to a kitchen gadget? So the commercial model came in much after 1967. That is, make that huge machine into a smaller, compact one. And kitchen gadget, in what sense? Somebody got the idea. We can use that heat, we can utilize that heat for cooking. So water can get heated and get boiled by passing microwave through it. And also in the process, the experience that microwave cannot pass through metal container. So water has to be boiled inside the glass or plastic. So that's for how this microwave oven, which is used in the kitchen, came in 67. And the next slide will show you one of the older models made by Murphy Richards. And today, of course, almost every urban household has a microwave oven. To the extent I've seen microwave oven being used in the roadside eateries, that they put samosa inside the microwave to make it hot for the customer. So that's a fantastic innovation. So the original discovery was microwave, which original discovery of electromagnetic radiation. Then came microwave. Microwave means a wave whose wavelength is in micrometers, the scale of micrometer. And then utilizing that to generate heat and utilizing that heat to cook. That's how today's microwave. The next slide is from perfume industry, and Bangalore is famous for that. Perfumes are categorized in different groups. In India, most of us like what is called floral perfume. That is the perfume we like typically. Of course, that is to do with our cultural sense and other things. We like the perfume to be of smell like flowers. That's why our popular perfumes are typically rose, jasmine. So there are different kinds of perfumes. If you take flowers, if the floral perfume is the perfume smell like flowers, so where is the perfume chemical coming from? Obviously, it's coming from flowers. So how is it done? That is, say, rose, a huge quantity, thousands of kgs of rose taken, and it goes through a process for extraction of the chemical, which is the smelling or perfumery chemicals present inside the rose. So that extraction is done through water or through alcohol or whatever. And then that chemical, that is what is called the perfumery chemical, that fragrant chemical, that is extracted, and that is made into concoction, and that is perfume. That is put in alcohol or water along with something else, and that's the perfume which you use. Now, we are talking about floral perfume. We are talking about the perfume of the flower, and the chemical is extracted out of it, and the perfume is made of it. Now, somebody, Indian scientist working in US, he thought that fragrance of flower is different when it is live. Live means when the flower is actually bloomed on the plant. And when to make the perfume, we pluck the flower, and the flower is dead. And subsequently, we extract the chemical. So the dead flower and the live flower, the smell is not same, right? Obviously, you understand what I'm talking about. When you sniff a rose on a plant and you pluck the rose, and after some time it hasn't rotten as yet, still giving the smell. You sniff, there'll be a difference in smell. I think you agree with me. So this scientist first thought that what of the fragrance of the live flowers? Can we do something about it? Can we make perfume out of that fragrance? Now, how do we do that? Next slide. The next slide. Yeah. So he made a small, simple gadget. I hope you can see that. It is a small glass. There is a small glass container. The flower is inside that, or the glass container is covering that flower. And on the right hand side, you can see it is connected to a small pump, and there is a micro tube. So the pump is extracting all the chemicals inside the flower, and those chemicals are coming and getting trapped in. On the right hand side, you see a small, very small trap. So the chemicals are getting trapped in that. So the chemical which is getting trapped in that is the fragrant chemicals, are coming out of a live flower. Instead of plucking the flower out of the tree and then taking out that chemical by using alcohol. So when this chemical used to make a perfume, it will be not totally, but it will be something different from an existing process of perfume, and that smell will be far more superior in terms of sensation. So that is nobody ever thought. He thought critically. Nobody ever thought that the chemical inside a living flower is different from the chemical in a dead flower. Nobody thought. He first thought of it. And then he thought, why not make a product it? And comes my favorite example. Next slide. I call it a mind-boggling innovation. And that's my favorite one. And is made by the next slide is my friend Steve. Steve lives in Los Angeles. He comes to India very often. I met him in India. And he made something really, something fantastic. So I'll just show it to you in the next slide. Next slide. Yeah. Can you see something kept on a table? You may find it difficult to understand what is it. That he has made a gadget, and the gadget is kept on the table. If you observe carefully, it's a spherical framework, and inside you can probably see 3 blades, small blades like fan blades, what are called rotors. Okay, how big is the whole device? You see it in the next slide. See it in the next slide. Person is holding in his hand. So now you realize. So basically, he made a small gadget where there are 3 blades or rotors. And outside he made a frame, a circular frame that is just, the frame has nothing else to do. The frame's function is to avoid breakage. So that's what he has made. Now to the audience. I keep this gadget in front of you, and if I can make the blades rotate, and just like a helicopter, the whole thing goes up because the blades is rotating in such a way rotating in a circular motion. So like a helicopter, the whole thing goes up. To answer that gadget is kept in front of you on the table. What is it you should do so that the whole thing will fly? Did you get my question? What is it you suggest you should do so that the whole thing flies? To make it fly, the rotors have to rotate. That's it. So what is it that you can do so that the whole thing flies?
Press it from the top like a spring and have it rotate internally.
What will the spring do?
The spring will make it rotate internally, like make that spirally turn around within that globe.
Yeah, I understood. So you have a spring which you compress and it's fitted inside, and as it decompresses, it rotates. That's what you're saying, right?
Possibly one option is what I could see it.
As the I understand. You have a compressed spring, and as the spring decompresses, that means as the spring opens up, the rotors rotate, and hence the whole thing flies up. Okay, good. Anyone else? Okay, let me tell you, it's not so easy to think. That's why I called it a mind-boggling innovation. Okay, it's far more complicated than the background is far more complicated than making it fly. That is, I think when you have to know that our brains, human beings' brains, it emit radiation, it emit waves, it emit radiation. There are alpha waves and beta waves and all that. So a human being's brain emits waves, emits rotation. So how is this done is to make it fly, you wear a headphone kind of thing. It's actually a gadget which touches your forehead. It looks like a headphone. Basically, it touches nothing to do with ear. Is you wear it, it looks like a headphone, but basically is a probe which touches your forehead. Now that probe can catch the signals emitted by your brain. And those signals are transmitted. The whole thing is controlled by a small gadget, which is like a mobile phone. Signal is transmitted there. And on that mobile phone, that gadget, that is basically a handheld controller. On that controller, there's a screen, and you can see the pattern of your brain waves. Now here is the crux. That is the pattern for brain waves. It will be very, very noisy pattern. It will be a very noisy pattern defined, without having any defined trajectory or path. Why so? Because that brainwave is according to what is in your brain. That is what you are thinking. What is your thought process? So when we think a lot, now go back to the previous one. Go back to the previous slide. So when you think a lot, Our brainwave will look very, very noisy, kinky. Okay. Now, I said the control is one that it can recognize smooth wave. A smooth wave, those of you understand, a smooth wave will be what is called a sinusoidal curve, like a smooth wave. So you can actually put it on your head and hold the controller in your hand, and on the screen you can actually see your thought process and very, very noisy, kinky signals going on. Now, what you have to do, as I asked you, what you should do so that you make it fly, slow down your thought process, which is not easy. So don't think of anything. Make your mind blank. Don't think of anything. Make your mind blank, which is extremely difficult. As you make your mind blank, it will take time. Once it reaches a threshold value or a threshold pattern, there's a small motor in that helicopter toy, a small motor attached below. So once your thought process gives a smooth wave, then that motor is triggered and the gadget starts flying. Now, as long as you can hold your thought process like that means you are not thinking of anything, it will keep on flying. So the outside round cage is basically a cage so that it doesn't hit the wall and break. That's that. So it keeps flying. Now, if you are thrilled that, oh, it's flying so much, your thought process is again kinky and it will fall down. So how long you can keep your mind empty without any disturbing thoughts, that is resulting on how long it will fly. It will keep flying above you. It's a fantastic gadget. It is not an imagination. It's actually available for sale. It is available in US and Canada and Europe and Japan and Singapore. It's not available yet in India. Maybe it will, and after another year or two. It is assembled in China for obvious reason, cost factor. It's got a big market in US and Europe. Now, somebody can tell me, what is the use of this? That's what we started with. No? The target customer's requirement. Who requires this? Who needs this? Who's the customer? Who will buy this? It's just like a toy, but who will buy this? You can say anyone, but can be a little more specific. Who's the target customer? Who will buy this toy? Anyone?
Medical patients, especially medical, it will be useful for healthcare.
Absolutely.
And it can be for the coma patients and the persons who get strokes and things like that.
Exactly.
It will be triggering to see how.
Yeah. For psychiatric patients, because for mental patients, doctors give them antidepressants and drugs to keep them, basically to keep their minds calm, keep their brains calm. So psychiatric patients and medical patients. Yes, very much, very much. What you said is correct. But actually, in reality, who buys it maximum? Who are the people who buy it maximum? Yes, the doctors and patients can definitely buy. It's purchased by parents of school-going children. The school-going kids who are distracted, that they don't put attention on their studies. The mind is not calm. So once they're taught how to make your mind calm by this fun way, they can make their minds calm, they can increase their concentration on studies, and they do better in studies. So maximum number of customers are parents who have children. Of course, naughty children are not necessarily naughty. Children who are getting distracted all the time. So this is one way of making them sit down calmly and hence study. So even in school, they have competition. How long one can make it fly. That means how long one can keep his mind stable without having any other distracted thoughts. So that is the target customer. Now it is being manufactured, as I said, assembled in China. It's sold in the Western world. It hasn't come to India as yet, though Steve is my personal friend. Because to get it in India, one has to import from China and then the person. price will go up so much that one need not will hesitate to buy this. So hopefully one day the price will come down and it will be affordable and people will buy it only when it is assembled, just like a mobile phone. Buying a mobile phone is easy because the price is so low. It wasn't so when it first started, right? In the same way, if it is assembled in India, people will start buying and start using. So maybe another 10 years from now, you'll find it on the roadside. It's assembled in Perfume industrial area, and find it on the roadside. Okay, so I finished my talk here, and the next slide give you my contact details. The next slide. My name is Joy. Those of you are on LinkedIn, you can link with me unless you're already, if you are on LinkedIn, Dr. Joy Mukhopadhyay. Actually, today we are in a global village, right? Today, to know about someone, you don't need anything. You just Google his name. You just Google my name, Dr. Joy Mukhopadhyay, and you know everything about it. Okay, nevertheless, I have given my email address and my phone number. So you can just Google my name. That's it. Okay, and I end my lecture by giving you a question. What is the question? Next slide. Mosquito menace. All of us are suffering from it from all over the world. Don't think there is no mosquito in Europe and US. Huh? The mosquitoes are everywhere. Every year, millions of people die all over the world globally because of diseases related to mosquitoes. When I was a kid, in my school science book, we learned about two types of mosquitoes, Anopheles and Culex. And we knew about two types of diseases caused by mosquitoes. Malaria, of course. The other was filaria. This was more than 50 years back when I was a kid, more than 60 years ago. Today things are different. Today you have dengue, today you have chikungunya and whatnot. And the latest scary one is Zika virus. The mosquito itself is not killing us. Mosquito carries all these viruses. Those viruses are killing us. And most of the time there is no treatment. Like Zika virus, there is no treatment. Dengue, those of you in Bangalore, you know what is the problem of dengue. So how to tackle mosquito menace? Of course, the simplest thing is mosquito net. Sleep inside a mosquito net. Even I do. That's in the night. The problem is those mosquitoes which give you dengue, they bite you during daytime. So what are the other ways of tackling mosquitoes? Insecticide spray. I have given you a brand name. Flit. Put a cream on your body. Odomos. Have a repellent coil. Tortoise coil. Everyone knows. Very interesting advertisements. A vaporizer like night. Also, there's some ultrasonic frequency meter. So see, so many different ways of tackling mosquito, and still we are not able to win over the viruses. So the last one, any one of you can think critically and think of a solution for mosquito menace. I'll be too happy to hear from you. Okay, and thank you so much. That's the end of my lecture. Thank you so much. And the last slide is just a thank you slide.
Thank you, Dr. Joy. It's now to listen what are the new options that people can come out with. Is it open for the floor to get some responses now?
So actually, millions of people every year die because of diseases, because of mosquitoes. And there are huge companies which make one or the other of solutions for mosquitoes. So you can have a cream, you can have a vaporizer, you can have a tablet, you can have a spray. And there are huge companies, BASF, huge German companies and Swiss companies and everything, but making something or the other to tackle mosquitoes. So still, mosquito problem is raging on. Zika virus is now in Kerala, as you know, and Zika is spread to mosquitoes. But don't worry, the doctors have assured that coronavirus is not spread by mosquito bite. And doctors have, because everybody was apprehensive. Had it been so, then all of us would have had corona by this time. But doctors said no, coronavirus does not spread to mosquito. Anyway, that was just to make you think. As I said, have to be critically thinking. So this is to make the audience think, what can you do about mosquito? Can clap for my lecture, and then some mosquitoes which are coming in between your hands also.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, to begin with some of the comments to go along, Mr. Bhagava mentions it was a mind-blowing talk, and I thank Dr. Joy for delivering a very interesting lecture and his gratitude to the forum for getting such a brilliant scientist to get to speak to us. Welcome, Dr. Mr. Bhagava. Dr. Joy, yes, indeed, it was good to hear about some of the inventions which we would have definitely forgotten, considering the number of innovations that we see around every day in and day out. What made a disruption at that time is now something obsolete, and new innovations taking more pride and active uh, shelf space, to be frank. But yeah, but there is still scope for entrepreneurs to make either invent or innovate, and anything that you would like to share for those people who would want or who are still unaware or caught unaware in this situation, how can they become an innovator or an inventor?
Yeah. There's no simple medicine or a simple formula like algebra to make you innovator. As I said, you have to keep your eyes and ears open and think what is it that you can do. And I can go on giving you ideas. One thing is you start with the ideas, but rest of it is up to you to manage money and to manage operation and all that. I give one simple idea. This was way back in I think it was more than 30 years back when I was living in Bombay. I was living in what is called New Bombay, Kashi, Navi Mumbai. And some youngsters in our local neighborhood, they came to me with a new business idea. It was very innovative. What is a new business idea? They came with a catalog and they said, sir, you can choose any of these pictures from the catalog. And he had all kinds of pictures. What will you do? They had framed those pictures. And like a library, you can subscribe to that. They'll come and put that picture in your wall, and you can pay for 1 day or 1 week or 1 month, whatever. And I thought that was a fantastic idea because in Bombay, people live in small cubbyhole apartments, flats, and you don't have much choice of decorating your flat. If I put a particular picture on my wall and I change it every month, there's subscription, and it feels like I'm in a new room. This was fantastic idea. So this was way more than 30 years back, and I really appreciate it. So maybe you can start it in your neighborhood. So yeah, depends. Uh, so they had a catalog. So they had pictures of gods and goddesses like Ganesha and Lakshmi and all that, Radha Krishna. They also had pictures of portraits of famous people. They had pictures of uh, beautiful sunrise and sunset and all. So they're actually showing me the pictures like catalog. Today, of course, is easier because you don't have a physical catalog to show. You can show it on screen. So you can have so you don't have to have the pictures ready. You will show the pictures to your targeted customer, and if they ask for a particular picture, say I would like to have this, then you can download that picture from the internet. You can get it in different sizes according to your choice, get it framed, and give it to them. So that was a fantastic, very, very. You don't need big money, right? That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't need big money for that. So only with a few hundred rupees, you can start. Start in a humble way, and maybe you can go a long. So most of these big companies started very humble. I worked for Asian Paints. Asian Paints is a huge company. It is a truly Indian multinational. It has operations in Australia, Middle East, in somewhere in Europe, and it started as a humble operation with one Mr. the founder of Asian Paints, Mr. Chimanlal Choksi. During the World War, he used to make paint at home, and used to put it in a bucket, and on his bicycle, he used to carry that bucket of paint. He used to go to different houses and different small shops and industries, and used to sell that paint. That's how he started. And of course, today Asian Paint is a truly Indian multinational. This is true for many such companies. If you take Wipro, today Wipro is a huge software giant. Wipro started as a vegetable oil product. I think you know the full name. Western India Vegetable Products. That's how it's Wipro. WI is Western India Products, vegetable products. So they started with the company making vegetable oil, edible oil. Then they made soap, they made shampoo, and then
Diversified big time.
yeah.
Right.
In
Thank
fact,
you.
he was studying in the US. His father expired. His father was running that oil and soap company called Wipro, Western India, and he had to come back. He had to return because his father expired, and then he got the idea at that time. Thought so critically that future is not in making oil and soap. The future is in software, and in converted, he diversified. He diversified the company to an IT company, and today is one of the giants, right? And he made the name Wipro. Is one of them. So many such big companies have got very, very humble beginnings. I give you one idea. You don't need big money.
Right.
You go to someone, your relative or friend, and said, "Would you like to have this painting, framed painting? This is Mona Lisa or Ganesha or whatever." And as he said, yes, you can download from the internet, take a color printout, which will cost you a few rupees, get it framed, and sell it. Or say, if you want to buy it, buy it. Otherwise, you keep it for 1 month, give me so much. And next month, I'll give you another one. It's that like that, and of course, there's no interest. It's just a simple idea.
Yes, sir. We'll
Any
see if
thing,
we have any young entrepreneurs who would have some questions that they could share it with you here. The line is open. Should you want to have any questions shared with Dr. Joy, feel free. This is your time. You can raise your hand or either put in your messages on the chat box that we can relate to him.
I've given you my contact details. Please free to contact me.
Right.
I can help you to some extent, but I cannot assure in terms of money. That's with many people think with studying that idea. But you need ideas, and if you have the idea, there are people standing there with money, loads of people. They don't know yet, but they can identify the venture capitalist will. So you don't have to have, but
So not
yes,
sure if others are going through the same. You're breaking up. We couldn't hear you correctly in the last few sentences. Is
yeah,
it
I'm repeating. I'm saying you don't have to have huge amount of money, but you have to have good ideas. So
right?
think critically.
Right.
Think critically. That's the most important. Money will come.
Right. Right. Daiva, Dr. KIN Daiva Anand, should you have a question, feel free to ask your question, please. No questions. In the meantime, a lot of complimentary messages to you, sir. Thank you, sir. It was wonderful. It was very informative and an interesting session. So, from an idea perspective, I just have another question to you, sir.
Yeah.
There are a lot of entrepreneurial institutes in India and new age entrepreneurs coming in and a lot of opportunities for seed funding or angel investors also on the other side. And like you mentioned, idea has a lot of potential in the days to come. How would you rate or what would be if I put you as a person who would be evaluating different ideas, what would be your top three criterias that you would look into? Of course, you mentioned not the cost side of it. A simple idea would still work, but what would you look at it from its longevity or a product or a service innovation?
You look at it, who are the targeted customers? You identify the target and similar products and or services whether they're already existing. In case it is, what will be your likely market share? And of course, what is the scalability? What is the scalability? Scalability means if you start a factory to make a product which you have thought of, which sounds like a fantastic product, you make 10 pieces and tomorrow and day after and next year, are you in a position to make 1,000, 20,000, 1 million pieces? So what is the scalability factor? If you cannot make such huge scalability, if it is a small one, then you remain as a small scale, business. And venture capitalists will not be interested, because for that you need not so much of money, modest amount of money, and that you can get from a bank loan or any other personal source.
There are many young innovators coming in, and many of their ideas take big flight initially, but it doesn't sustain for a longer period of time. And you had mentioned critical thinking as one of the highlighted points there. Do you think, is it the rush of blood, or is it something that the experience or the guidance of a senior or a seasoned person that is missing in today's scenario?
Yeah, the guidance is missing. Uh, what happens is typically these ideas come to people who are tech savvy. So engineers or scientists, students in engineering colleges, they do something in the lab and they do something in the workshop, which looks very interesting, very promising, and they get thrilled and they think can make a venture out of it. So they can become entrepreneur. What they miss out is, as I said, scalability. What they miss out is targeted customer. So what they miss out is what are the likely competition and hence what are the likely market share. Because if the idea is something which can be easily copied, then sooner or later another bigger company will make the same thing and you will not be anywhere. So holding hand is necessary. Another thing is typically people are tech savvy, engineers or whoever, technocrats or tech savvy people, they're usually not commercially savvy, in the sense they don't understand money matter much. They understand technicality much. And they put their full attention and effort on the technicality without realizing at what price it can be sold. Most of the people don't understand what price it can be sold. I'll give a simple example. Uh, one lady, she wanted to start her own business and she was seeking venture capital. So we asked, what is the product? She said, potato chips. What? Potato chips? Why do you think people will buy your potato chips? Then she said, why? You don't like potato chips? I said, of course I do. Then you will buy. I said, why should I buy your potato chips? I don't see any reason why should I buy your potato chips. So such a simple example. So she can make good potato chips. I perfectly understand. Why should I buy her potato chips when I have so many other huge brands? So she cannot make a big industry out of making potato chips. She can make potato chips and sell it to her friends or relatives who will buy just because she is selling it, not because anything else. And even if those potato chips are great, she cannot scale it up to stand in front of Lay's, right? Or Kurkure or any of those. So people don't realize it's a fantastic idea, but why should people buy from you? Target customer, what is the price, how much money you're spending in making it, and how much profit you are making it. All that. So it's quite a complicated thing. It's not easy. But yes, I always encourage people. Many of my students, many, not one, many of my students later got into food business and started their own restaurants. I don't want to name, but right here in Bangalore, my ex-students started their own restaurant. My ex-students went back to Guwahati, Assam, started a restaurant and all that in many places, and all in Delhi. So not all of them did not survive. I remember one. I just given one example. Somebody who bought over an existing restaurant inside Electronic City, who bought over an existing restaurant, and he and three of his classmates together bought over the restaurant and started running it. It was doing very well. You know what is the problem? It's right in the heart of Electronic City. So the customers are all those engineers who work in Electronic City. And during 1.5 years, it's a washout. There's no one there. So that's it. So many things to be done.
That also has another side of it if you look at it, sir. Yeah, provided if a smaller firm or a small venture makes it big. You did mention about standing against, just taking an example of the potato chips, standing against the giants like Lay's or Kukure. That's fine, but there are instances where bigger giants taking over
Yes,
these small players in the days to come when they become locally popular or they are able to get a good market share.
yes,
So,
absolutely. Yeah, those are classic examples. You're talking about Uber and Ola. You're talking about BNB and Oyo. These are classic examples. So there are only a few, right? Only a few. But then also they also started with in a very small and they succeeded because they had some bright idea. So
right,
everybody cannot. Yeah, but now Ola is doing fantastically well, right? Ola is starting his scooter company, electric scooter. They already got a huge amount of orders even before starting it. So once they made a name, once if they start electric scooter, everybody will go for Ola without bothering about whether Ola was originally a scooter manufacturer or Ola has expertise in scooter. None of these, right? But then Ola has established its name. It's got more than 1 lakh orders even before starting.
and the
So
kind
I
of
always
choice they can provide with customers of their color and other preferences that they're ready to go ahead and provide with.
I always encourage my students to become entrepreneurs, food or otherwise, whatever. But many people come to me having all these kind of ideas. I make them think critically that why do you think this idea is right? Who do you think is your customer? First, it start with customer. Then it comes to competitor. How much money do you think you need? Where do you get the money from? After the money is over, what do you get constantly cash flow, constant cash flow? So how much do you think will be the market share? How much do you think will be the profitability? So there are ways of calculating it. You can calculate, making some basic assumption. You can actually calculate in terms of percentage. You can calculate market share. You can calculate what is the profitability and all that. It's some basic assumption. So those things have to be critically thought of. So there are. I give you one example of related to mosquito.
Right.
That is, I don't know how many of you, at least I use that
Yeah.
badminton racket, a tennis racket for killing one.
Well, that did come up when you had put in that question, and in fact, I was just waiting whether if you are going to pick it up again. Right. There has been some memes wherein, and you would have definitely observed it as well, talk between Roger Federer and Sachin Tendulkar talking, or a meme being created. He mentions about Indians playing cricket with a tennis ball, and what do they do with their
That's
tennis
not
rackets. And
right.
no, but that has been a different invention altogether. Yes, I mean a simple handheld device to take care.
Device. It does not emit chemicals, no poisonous chemicals, no obnoxious chemicals. Only thing is you have to charge it. But just think of it. It is sold on the roadside, right?
Absolutely.
It started selling only at the mm,
Premier product to begin with, and then it became a household product now for sure.
but that is not manufactured in India. Do you know that? That is not assembled in India. That's why there is no catalog. Most of the time, there's no name for the company. There is no price tag. You can get it on the roadside. You can get it at a Madhavi shop and for whatever price. It is not assembled in India. It is assembled in China. So many people who come to me, and including engineers, including electrical engineers, I said, this is the idea. This is the racket. Why don't you manufacture it? If India can send spaceship to moon, can't we manufacture this racket at home? So they say, no, sir, we don't know how to do it. Actually, you don't know how to do it. Find out how to do it. Find out. It's basically there's a small charger inside, and it's the way it is designed. You cannot break it, but you cannot. Once the battery inside is over, it's over. I can recharge it to up to a certain time, right? So typically shelf life is 1 year. After 1 year, it goes. So if you can make it here in India, you do realize what will be a huge market, huge market.
There is potential, right? Yeah, anyone
Market.
listening to us, think over again, and we have some opportunities as well. I think that almost sums it up for us, sir, and a lot of opportunities for sure. And if an idea can click and it can take up wings, it's for sure that we can definitely see more entrepreneurs making it as a part of Make in India, or variety of opportunities for different uh, employers to come into the space as well. So with that, almost we have come to the end of today's session, and I thank Dr. Jay Mukhopadhyaya for sharing his experience and a wonderful session on entrepreneurs and innovations. And some of those lovely gadget photos that he has shared takes us back to those days as well, and that have definitely lit up the space of inventions and have had their own share of market when they were leading players in the market. I now call upon Prasanna and Dr. Suresh to kindly share their word of thanks.
Dr. Joy, sir, it's a very eye-opening session for all of us. So really thanking you, especially current pandemic. You have given your time for us and given a wonderful session, as you always said that the idea brings about the thought, and we can come across with a new innovation for the youngster, and we put on our thought process to have a new innovation in our life. So it was a high opening session. So thank for your wonderful session. Thank you.
Welcome.
Anyone would like to share their appreciation or feedback, please feel free to unmute your lines.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Dr. Mukhopadhyay, sir. It's been a long time. We had interacted briefly earlier, and it was so nice listening to your lecture. It was not only mind-blowing, it is mesmerizing. I now understand why you're so popular with the students. Wonderful, sir. It was and it was really very interesting. And what you said about the scalability is the most important factor. I remember distinctly well about two restaurant chains which came up in Bangalore. And like Ranganidhi said, one was gobbled up by multinationals and financiers. Two examples. One was Vasudev Adiga's chain, and he built it up and then became a very big chain. And he went overseas to Dubai and started the business there. And subsequently, it got taken over. And now he has started yet another venture, Adiga's Pakashala. Now, the idea behind starting that is scalability and scaling up. That is exactly what happened with Mast Kalandar also. There were two technical people, two software engineers who decided to venture into food industry. They did a lot of research and a lot of preparation for almost 1 year. And then subsequently, they started their flagship restaurant in one small place, frequently inhabited by, used by the IT people. And subsequently, they were already prepared to open up 7 or 8 branches elsewhere, replicating the logo, replicating the taste, replicating everything, the ambience, everything. So within no time, they were able to scale it up. But it is, like you said, unfortunate that the food industry is so volatile, very few people are able to survive. But these two examples justify what you said about scalability. And the second point is about the customer focus. Unless we remember for whom we are catering to, for whose benefit or whose advantage or whose use we are designing this or inventing this. So these 2 points stuck very deep in my mind after listening to you. Thank you very much for such wonderful examples. And I really admire your innovative capability. And really, you're one among the best scientists, top scientists in our country, not only in our country, anywhere else. I'm sure with your guidance, more and more budding entrepreneurs as well as scientists emerge. And thanks to you, sir. And I thank the complete team of our Disciple India Learning Forum for inviting such an eminent person and having given us an opportunity to listen to him and his ideas. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Major Bhargava. Again, pleasure listening to you and summarizing what we've had the day about. Once again, thank you, Dr. Joy Mukhopadhyaya, for gracing this occasion and accepting our request to share a session with us and your experience. I'm sure a lot of input have been accepted. And like Dr. Joy has said already, that his contact number is available for you to reach out. Should you want to call him, you can call him on 99860-24044. Or you can also email him, joymukh, joymukh @gmail.com. And you can interact with him and share your ideas or get some guidance where necessary. And I'm sure he will definitely help you take those small ideas or get some wings to your ideas to make it fly. And with that, we come to an end of this session. And thank you all for joining us. wherever you are. Thank you for watching us live on YouTube as well. And we look forward to seeing you again in our next session. That would be session number 79, which we'll be intimating you about in the very next communication. Thank you very much. This is Ranganidhi on behalf of Disciples India Learning Forum, saying goodbye. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for being patient listeners. I look forward to interact with you more. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Where is Dr. Suresh? Not there.